You are sitting in your car. The engine is off. Your face is wet. Nobody told you to stop. You just needed a minute. Maybe you have heard the old idea. Crying flushes stress out of you, like your body is draining a wound. Is that actually true? Or is it something else entirely? Stick with me for a few minutes. You are about to learn what tears really do, and why the popular explanation is not the full story, and why it still matters for your daily life. Almost everyone has heard some version of this claim. Crying releases toxins. Crying washes away your stress. It sounds tidy. It sounds almost mechanical, like plumbing. Your body builds up pressure, then releases it through your eyes. But your brain does not work like plumbing, and neither, it turns out, do your tears. Here is the promise for this video. You will learn what tears are chemically made of. You will also learn something far more surprising. The real reason crying sometimes helps you, and the specific reason it sometimes does not. By the end, you may look at your own tears differently. Before we go further, a quick favor. If questions like this fascinate you, subscribe now. It helps this channel keep exploring how your brain actually works. Let's start with something most people never think about. Not all tears are the same. Your eyes produce three distinct kinds. Basal tears sit there constantly. They keep your eyes lubricated all day. Without them, your eyes would dry out fast. Every blink spreads a thin layer across your cornea. That layer protects you from dust and bacteria. You barely notice basal tears because they never stop. Reflex tears show up during irritation. Onions, smoke, dust, anything sharp and sudden. Your brain releases hormones almost instantly. Glands in your eyelids respond within seconds. That reflex exists purely to protect your eyes. It floods the surface and clears the irritant out. You do not choose reflex tears. Your body decides for you, automatically. Then there is the third kind. Emotional tears. These are strange, biologically speaking. No other animal produces them quite like you do. Dogs tear up from wind or dust. Elephants tear up from irritation, not grief. Humans seem to be the only species that cries from pure emotion. That fact alone should surprise you a little. It means crying evolved for something specific to us. Think about how strange that actually is. Elephants mourn their dead in real ways. They stand near the bones for hours sometimes. Dogs whimper and press against grieving owners. Yet none of them produce tears from sorrow. Only your species leaks water from pure feeling. That gap is exactly what puzzled scientists for decades. If it served no purpose, why would it survive? So why would evolution build something so specific? Something with no obvious survival purpose? This is where the detox theory enters the story. In the 1980s, a biochemist studied this directly. His name was William Frey, working in Minnesota. He collected tears from volunteers two different ways. First, he had them chop onions. Then, he had them watch sad movies. He compared the chemical makeup of both samples. The difference was immediately obvious under analysis. Emotional tears contained something reflex tears did not. Higher levels of specific stress-related compounds. Adrenocorticotropic hormone, often shortened to ACTH, cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, and leucine enkephalin, a natural pain-reducing chemical. He also found elevated manganese, a mood-related mineral. Frey's conclusion sounded almost poetic at the time. Crying, he argued, was your body excreting stress, the same way sweating removes heat and salt. Weeping, he wrote, was an excretory process. Frey went further with his surveys too. He asked volunteers to log every crying episode. Sadness caused roughly half of all reported tears. Happiness came next, followed by anger and fear. Sympathy accounted for a small remaining slice. Women, in his samples, reported crying more often. Men reported crying less, though rarely never. That gender gap fascinated other researchers too. They wondered if identical twins cried alike. Frey tested that assumption directly and carefully. Identical twins did not match more than fraternal ones. That surprised him, since biology often explains such patterns. It suggested crying is shaped by more than genes. Culture, upbringing, and personality all seem to matter. Even depressed patients, oddly, did not cry more overall. That finding alone complicated the simple detox story further. This idea spread everywhere almost instantly. Therapists repeated it. Magazines repeated it. Your favorite science channels probably repeated it too. It became one of those facts nobody questioned. Have a good cry, they told you. Let the stress leave your body physically. It felt true. It felt like solid, settled science. But here is where the story gets interesting. Newer research has actually challenged that entire theory. Not because Frey lied about the chemistry. The chemicals really are there in tears. The problem is scale, not presence. Tears are mostly water, produced in tiny amounts. The actual quantity of hormones is microscopic. Too small, researchers argue, to meaningfully shift your bloodstream. Crying out a few molecules of cortisol proves little. It does not equal detoxing your entire nervous system. Scientists eventually tested this claim directly. Researchers measured cortisol using saliva samples. They tested people before and after sad films. Some participants cried during the footage. Others watched the same content, dry-eyed. A third group watched neutral, unemotional footage instead. If the detox theory held up, criers should differ. Their cortisol should drop faster than everyone else's. That is not quite what the data showed. The results came back surprisingly flat overall. Criers did not reliably show lower stress hormones afterward. So if crying is not detoxing your blood, what is it doing? Here is where your nervous system enters the picture. When you start crying hard, your body activates fully. Heart rate rises. Breathing becomes ragged and uneven. You may even sweat slightly during intense sobbing. This is your sympathetic nervous system, your stress response, firing. But crying does not stay in that state forever. As the sobbing slows, something else takes over. Your parasympathetic nervous system begins calming things down. This is the branch responsible for rest and recovery. Your heart rate drops, your breathing deepens, and steadies out. Researchers believe the tear glands share pathways with the vagus nerve. That nerve runs from your brainstem through your abdomen. It regulates your heart, your lungs, and your gut. So producing tears may help trigger a calming cascade. In simple terms, crying is not detoxing your blood. It is regulating your nervous system through breath and rhythm. The long, shuddering breaths during a cry resemble something familiar. They resemble slow breathing, used in relaxation training. So the relief people feel afterward is real. It is just not chemical drainage happening through your tear ducts. Picture someone crying hard after terrible news. Their chest heaves, their breath catches, then releases slowly. 10 minutes later, their shoulders finally drop. Their voice softens. Their hands stop shaking quite so much. That shift is not their hormones draining away. That shift is their nervous system finding its floor again. The same floor deep breathing exercises try to reach on purpose. Interestingly, joyful tears activate some of the same territory. Brain regions like the hypothalamus light up in both cases. The basal ganglia, tied closely to emotion, respond too. Both regions connect directly to your tear glands. That overlap might explain something you already know instinctively. Sobbing at a wedding can feel oddly similar to grief. There is another layer to this story, though. One that has almost nothing to do with chemistry. Charles Darwin actually found emotional tears puzzling. He considered them a strange evolutionary side effect. Useless, almost, compared to other survival behaviors. Modern researchers disagree with that conclusion sharply. Tears do something incredibly useful for social animals. They communicate distress without needing a single word. Think about what tears physically do to your face. They blur your vision almost immediately. They make aggression or fast movement genuinely harder. In evolutionary terms, that vulnerability sends a powerful signal. It says, I am not a threat right now. It says, I need support, not conflict. Researchers call this an appeasement and attachment signal, something similar, in some ways, to human blushing. Studies analyzing crying faces have found something consistent. People rate tearful faces as noticeably more sad. Remove the tears, even digitally, and reactions shift. Viewers become confused about the actual emotion shown. Sometimes they read the same face as calm or puzzled. That single detail tells you something important here. Tears are not incidental leftovers of emotion. Tears are information, broadcast outward, for others to read. Think about a workplace example for a moment. Someone delivers difficult news calmly, without any tears. Colleagues often assume they are handling things fine. Someone else delivers identical news, eyes glistening slightly. Colleagues instinctively soften their tone and lean in closer. The words were the same in both cases. Only the tears changed how people actually responded. That is the appeasement signal doing its quiet work. This brings us to the real counterintuitive twist, the one that overturns the simple detox story completely. Two researchers, Ad Vingerhoots and Lauren Bilsma, studied this carefully. They tracked more than 1,000 real crying episodes, documented daily, by real women, in real situations. Their central question was refreshingly simple. Does crying actually improve mood afterward, or not? The honest answer surprised almost everyone involved. Only about 30% of episodes helped. The rest left mood unchanged, or made things worse. Crying completely alone rarely produced real relief. So what actually determined the difference then? Social context turned out to matter enormously here. People who cried around someone supportive felt better. People who cried completely alone often did not. Comfort, presence, and empathy changed the entire outcome. In a separate international study, the pattern repeated. Researchers surveyed thousands of students across 35 countries. Crying alongside comfort predicted something researchers call catharsis. Crying without comfort predicted lingering distress instead. Think about that for a second. Honestly, you are not just leaking hormones onto your cheeks. You are sending out a very old signal, one that says, "Come closer, I need you." When somebody actually responds with warmth, your body notices. Your nervous system downshifts faster, more completely, more safely. When nobody responds, the crying can feel hollow. Sometimes it even deepens the original distress instead. This also explains something many people wonder about privately. Why do some people struggle to cry at all? Some describe feeling numb, even during genuine grief. Researchers sometimes link this to early upbringing patterns. Children told to stop crying, repeatedly, learn something specific. They learn that tears bring criticism, not comfort. Over time, the crying reflex itself can weaken. Not because the sadness disappeared underneath it, because expressing it stopped feeling safe or useful. That matters here, because it flips the detox theory sideways. If crying were purely chemical drainage, suppressing tears would matter little. You would simply carry slightly more hormones internally, unreleased. But researchers studying suppressed crying report something different entirely. People who habitually hold tears back report higher stress overall. Some studies link chronic suppression to higher blood pressure. Others link it to increased tension headaches and fatigue. The mechanism likely is not the trapped chemicals themselves. The mechanism is a nervous system stuck in high alert, never allowed the shift toward rest and recovery. This reframes something you may have believed for years. Crying by yourself is not automatically therapeutic. It might just be physiological arousal, without real resolution. The old advice, "have a good cry," is incomplete. It should probably sound more like this instead. Have a good cry, ideally, with someone nearby. That single addition changes the entire mechanism at play. It is not really about the tears themselves. It is about connection, safety, and being genuinely seen. Vingerhoots has described crying almost like social glue, something that binds people together through shared vulnerability. Watching someone cry activates empathy in the observer. That empathy is what pulls people toward comforting you. Researchers even found that criers get judged kindly. Onlookers often see them as warm, trustworthy people. If this is changing how you think about crying, say so. Drop a comment about the last time crying actually helped. Was someone there with you when it happened? Your answers genuinely shape what this channel covers next. And if you want more videos exploring your own biology, subscribe. There is a lot more hiding beneath ordinary human behavior. Let's bring this back to something practical for your own life. Next time tears build during a hard day, notice your instinct. Do you rush to hide in a bathroom stall? Do you wait until you are completely alone in your car? That instinct makes sense. Crying can feel embarrassing around other people. But based on the research, that instinct might work against you. Isolation strips crying of its most useful function, the one where another human being actually responds. This does not mean you must cry in public constantly. Privacy still matters, and boundaries are healthy and normal. But consider texting someone before you fully break down. Consider crying next to a trusted friend sometimes. Consider letting a partner simply sit beside you quietly. The chemistry inside your tears is almost irrelevant here. The presence of another calm nervous system is not. Think about how this might change a hard week. Instead of driving home to cry alone, call someone. Instead of muting your camera to hide tears, stay visible. Instead of apologizing for crying, let it simply happen. None of this requires a dramatic conversation afterward. Sometimes, silent company is enough to change the outcome. Your nervous system does not need speeches. It just needs another steady presence nearby. It needs a witness, not an audience. There is also a physical piece worth remembering here. The deep breathing that comes with sobbing still helps. Even crying alone activates some of that calming shift. Your heart rate does eventually slow down afterward. Your breathing does eventually steady out again naturally. So crying is never completely pointless, even in isolation. It just works better, more reliably, with company nearby. It is worth naming the practical takeaway clearly, one more time. The old myth was not entirely wrong, just incomplete. Your tears do carry stress hormones, exactly as Frey found. That part of the story checks out under a microscope. What science has revised is the mechanism behind the relief. It is not primarily excretion. It is regulation and connection, working together quietly. Two separate systems, both real, both worth understanding clearly. Your breath calming your body down from the inside. Another person's presence calming your body down from outside. Understanding this can change how you handle your own hard days. It can also change how you respond to someone else's. Next time a friend cries in front of you, notice your instinct. Do not rush to fix the problem immediately. Do not hand them a tissue and change the subject. Just stay. Just be a steady, quiet presence beside them. Based on everything the research shows, that alone helps. More, in many cases, than any advice you could offer. More, often, than knowing the exact right thing to say. Think about the last funeral you attended, for a moment. Notice how people instinctively reach for each other there. A hand on a shoulder, an arm around a back. Nobody explains why that instinct exists exactly, but biologically, It may be doing real work. It may be helping every crying nervous system regulate faster. That is not sentimentality. That is measurable, documented human physiology. Consider a second scenario, further from grief entirely. A new parent, exhausted, crying quietly at 3 a.m, alone, holding a crying infant, feeling completely overwhelmed. That crying rarely resolves anything by itself, research suggests. Now imagine a partner walking in, saying nothing, just staying, just taking the baby for 10 minutes, wordlessly. That single shift often changes everything about the moment. Not because stress hormones suddenly vanished from anyone's bloodstream, because a nervous system in distress finally sensed safety again. Even something as small as a video call counts. Crying while a friend listens through a screen still helps. Presence does not require physical proximity to matter here. It requires attention, warmth, and a lack of judgment. That combination seems to be the actual active ingredient. Not the tears themselves, and not their hidden chemistry. Consider one more everyday example, closer to home. A stressful commute, a hard phone call, tears at a red light. Nobody is there. The moment passes in complete silence. That crying might still ease your body slightly, biologically. But it will not carry the full effect research describes. The version that actually resets your nervous system fastest. That version almost always includes another calm human nearby. Let's go back to that image from the beginning. You, sitting in your car, engine off. Face wet, chest still tight, breath uneven. That was never really about draining toxins away. It was your nervous system searching for a way down. A slower heartbeat, a steadier breath, a returning calm. And somewhere underneath all of it, a quieter signal too. A very old, very human request for someone to notice. So the next time tears show up uninvited, pause. Do not just wipe them away in silence. Let someone see them, if it feels safe enough. Your body was never designed to grieve completely alone. It was designed to cry out and be heard. Not metaphorically. Literally, biologically, all the way down to your nervous system. Crying will not chemically flush your stress away tonight, but it might still bring you exactly what you need. A slower heart, a steadier breath, and maybe, if you let it, someone standing quietly beside you. That, in the end, is the real story behind your tears.